This video explains how to do projection mapping for the BioPool or the creature creation station. In this video, I'm going to start as if there was no mapping, so we started from zero. First thing you need is a keyboard and a mouse plugged directly into the PC. The way I do it, and I'm leaving you hardware to do this way, is have mouse keyboard standard into a USB hub. USB hub goes into a USB extender over Ethernet, so we can go really far. So USB extender, it's taped to a long Ethernet cable that walks all the way back to the server room. Right here, which has the other part of the extender right into a USB 2.0 port right there. This allows us to use the mouse and the keyboard right in front of it. So back to this. This assumes the BioPool is already running, which happens automatically every day. It's all scheduled. Usually you will not have to do this entirely as I'm showing you here, but this is the worst case scenario where you have to start from zero. We can very clearly see things are off, like here. Non-continuous graphics. Pretty much every connection between two projectors is wrong. You see the bacteria here are off. Up there too. Over there very clearly. So first thing, get into the projection mode. To do that, you grab the keyboard, hold shift, press P for projection, and you will see that top left you get a new menu right there. You can use the mouse to go and move it around. I'm gonna bring it over here so we can read it easily. There it is. So first thing you want to do is click on draw user content and disable it. Disable that, and that means there's no creatures anymore. We just have like working environment settings. Next thing you want to do is enable the grid. It says grid down here. I think you can read it. And the next thing you might want to do is make the grid slightly smaller, like that. This shows each projector as it is shooting without any correction. Something else that might help too to get an impression is this other mode called draw projector pixels. There. This draws on top of the grid each of the projectors' actual light in different colors, so you can see how they're being shot basically. Quick tour. Okay, so to begin the process, you want to the whole point is about dragging points in space to make the grid match. So what you do is start from the surface 0, which in this case is going to be the leftmost. So I'm going to bring the keyboard over here, put the camera down a second, right here in the hub. Bring the keyboard, bring the mouse. Okay, you might want to have a mouse pad. So bring the menu over there too, so we can see what's going on. Here. What you can see here says surfaces. I hope you can read it. It says surfaces, and there's a list of surfaces from 0 to 10. What I'm going to do is enable surface 0, which is the first surface, and you will see some points show up. The points by default are not super large. I'm going to drop the colors so they're more obvious. So draw projector pixels off. Here we go. I'm going to make the points a little bigger. There's something called control point radius. I'm going to make it bigger there so it's more obvious. The whole point of this is to like align these surfaces with each other. I can use the mouse to drag any of these points, so I grab this one and I move it up or down, and then the thing just follows. Same with here. These surfaces might have different resolutions or levels of detail. Usually when you start from scratch like this, you want to start with the minimum amount of resolution, so that's 4 points of resolution. In this case, we have 16. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me grab this so we can show you. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 16. I'm gonna drop the number of control points to 2. There, 2. And then all the points disappear but the ones on the edge. I'm gonna start by aligning this perfectly with the screen. Same here. More or less. We only have 2 points, so we're gonna do a rough quick pass on all of them, and then we just do another pass with more resolution, and we slowly do that over and over. So I'm gonna do that, and then down here, same thing. Even if you don't see the point, because it might be off the screen, you can click around it and you still drag it. So you want to do that. Same here. Same here. Let's make the grid a bit smaller so it's a bit more clear what's going on there. Alright, so we kind of did something with surface 0. We need surface 1 to match. So I could be clicking here 0, 1, 2 to toggle the surfaces, but it's easier to use the keyboard shortcuts, which by pressing 0 selects number 0. By pressing 1 selects number 1. There it is. So that's how you quickly switch between them, because you have to do it very often, many times for the whole mapping. So I'm gonna go there on surface 1 and start dragging it. Wrong point. Sorry, before we do that, let's make sure it's only got 2 control points. So control points 2, and start matching them, dragging them to match. You see them moving up there. So the 15.1 matches roughly with its neighbor. Same at the bottom. So we have 15.23 more or less matching. This is a rough pass, so it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just to give it like the first impression of how it's gonna be. I'm gonna make some space down here. There. So same with the other edge. I'm gonna put it in between. Same here. Push it, pull it in a little bit, like that. You will see that because we only have 2 points, this grid gets out of the screen, but that's fine. Once we add more points, we can refine these things. So I did kind of a mapping between 1 and 2. It's not perfect. Sorry, between 0 and 1. Same thing here. Yeah, that's good. There you go. So you'll see in between, it's not quite perfect, but on the top it's kind of okay. So the matter is to keep doing that for all of them. Do a first pass. I'm going to do one more. So I'm going to go to the keyboard, press number 2. Surface 2 gets selected because I pressed number 2, and the points show up in the surface number 2, which is the third surface. We've done 0, 1, and 2. And then I'm going to make sure again it is set to 2 control points. And same thing, let's just match the points. So I'm dragging, clicking and dragging. All of this is done with the left mouse button. That's the only button you need to use. So same here. I lost my mouse. Where is it? Down here. So now the bottom part, matching it. Now this guy. Sort of matching it. So you see here, what I'm trying to do is align the pixels at the bottom of the grid with the actual screen. The edges should be good, the middle should not be good yet because we don't have enough resolution. So same up here. So now we got three of this 11 surfaces, the whole rough pass. What I'm gonna do now is, because I'm kind of happy with the results so far, is save just in case. To save or load the work that you're doing, you only have to press 2 keys. If you press S, it will save the current status. There's no feedback on screen, but it happened. If you press L, it will load the last thing you saved. If you press S again, you will lose whatever was saved before, so there's no undo here. So be very careful when you save. Every time you're kind of happy where you are, just save to play it safe and avoid mistakes. So let's say I made a mistake now, and for some reason I'm working on some other surface and I drag it really badly. Like, oh, I've done something really bad. In this case, because I saved before in a good state, I can press L. I'm going to press L, and you'll see it come back to the good state. The other thing you can do if you really fucked up everything is to start over. There's no really good reason for that, but it might happen sometimes. To do that, you can press spacebar. I'm going to press spacebar, and you will see how everything goes back to the original state. There's a help screen here on the GUI, so those keys can be read on screen. I'm going to click GUI help, click, and there's your GUI help. There's some shortcuts that are nice to have but not really required, but the importance are S, space, and L. You will see all of them are uppercase. The only thing that's, sorry, lowercase, the only thing that's uppercase is Shift P to get into this mode. So I'm going to press L to carry on. Back to where we saved. And let's pretend that I did all of the rest of the screens, because that's a time-consuming process. And let's do the second pass. So to do the second pass is same thing. Select surface 0, which is the first one. And let's increase the resolution slightly. So instead of 2 control points, we're going to have 3 control points, and that makes middle points show up. Usually we want to stop at 4, so you're going to have 2 passes. I'm not going to show you all of them, just these, so you get the idea, and it's just a matter of repeating over and over. So we got new points. The points on the edges don't change, and the points in the middle are not going to follow the curve, so that's your job to like tweak them so they match as close as possible to screen. There you go. Down, up here. We want to avoid the points going down, 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 which is what they naturally do. So usually the middle row you want to push down a little bit or up, depending on what you're doing. In this case, at the bottom part, you want to push them up so they match. There. And the idea is that this grade that we're seeing should be as straight as possible. It might be helpful to grab a piece of tape, measure the height of the screen, and tape down the middle line of the whole screen as a reference for the grid to follow. This is quite tedious, but it leads to much better results, because this way you can really see what a horizontal line should be like. Otherwise it's easy to get lost with the grid. So you see what down here, screen 0 is now a resolution 3x3. I'm gonna go to the next screen and increase the resolution again. And same thing, adjust, 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 adjust. I'm gonna bring that up a tiny bit, and down here, there. Here we can start making the numbers really match. So if I adjust properly, things get in focus. They're not doubled anymore. Same down here. Let's see what I can do with the mouse. There you go. Still not perfect, but it's pretty good. So now the mapping between 0 and 1 is kind of decent. One thing to be aware of is that when you're looking from inside of the sea, everything looks blurry because of the way the light bounces back from the screen, which is too thick. To do the final pass, I really recommend you do it on the other side, because from this side you might not see all the details perfectly, while if I go on the other side, you can really see where things are off. Like sometimes 1 pixel, like here, is enough to make the text or the creatures look doubled up. So you have to be very precise. That's why we have an extender, so you can walk with the keyboard all around the sea. It is a bit confusing when you're on the other side, because obviously everything is mirrored, so left is right and right is left. But with practice, you kind of get used to it. So that's pretty much it. Once you're done with the passing of resolution up to 4, most likely is what you need, because some of these sections in between with 3 is usually not enough, and you will get these pixel doubling. With 4, you can really adjust to make these things disappear entirely. But your mileage might vary. If you move the projectors in a different way, maybe you won't need that, but in the current setup, you kind of need to. That's pretty much it. Once you've gone through everything, you press S. And when you press S, this is saved into a file. I'm gonna press S step again. And you can just quit the app. You can always quit the app by pressing escape. This will quit the app. And if you finish your mapping and you want to make sure it's not lost, let's say the hard drive fails or whatever, you can save it somewhere else, and I recommend doing that. There's a folder in the desktop called BioPool Deployments. I'm going to open it up. Inside of it, there's another folder called App, and another folder called Data, and inside of that there's another folder called Projection Tool. And inside of that, there's a folder called Settings. That's the folder that keeps all the information about the mapping. You might want to make a zip out of it and put it in a USB key and keep it around, just in case. That's the most important thing. And that's pretty much all you need to know, I believe.